Okie dokie. Well, hello there, Archie students. My name's Carl, and I want to share with you the 7 biggest mistakes architecture students make in school. So number 1 is putting things off. I'm a victim of this as well. Architecture students think they've got plenty of time leading up to deadlines or submissions, and they think, you know what, it's fine, I've got another 2 weeks before my deadline. Wrong. You're gonna get destroyed for that. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's been in this situation. The thing is, if you put in the work earlier, it's going to make it easier for yourself. You're not going to be as stressed. You're not going to be as anxious about finishing your project. It's going to give you a lot more time to fix things. It then gives you the opportunity to send your work to friends, send it to your teacher, show them your work and get some feedback on it before handing in
the final submission.
Number 2 is not planning. And this is fluent across all students, not just architecture students, but we don't tend to plan too well. We like to live in the moment and we'll attend problems and matters as they come to us. And this is a terrible mistake we make. I highly suggest you get a planner and you write in all your deadlines, you write in when your classes are, and you write in everything you need to know. And one of the most helpful things I've started doing is to schedule in and stick to a daily routine. A time I wake up every single morning, a time I do my workout, a time I have breakfast, lunch, dinner. And you can get real excessive with planning and you can take it over the top, but it's trying to have that balance of living in the moment and then having an organized lifestyle, because success comes from the activities you do on a daily routine. It's not from these one-off things you do. Number 3 is not trying new things. A lot of students go through their first couple of years of architecture school and they get stuck using one single piece of software or one style of drawing, or they'll stick with model making instead of moving on to 3D programming. And getting stuck with one thing and getting really good at one thing is not a bad idea, but you don't want to miss out on opportunities where you can learn new things and practice new techniques and different software, because you could just get really good at one thing and you could get really good at Rhino, for example. But then it's like, what if you get into a firm and they only use Revit and they don't use Rhino? You're going to want some knowledge or some basic general knowledge of how to use Revit in that case. And it's the same with anything else. We might get stuck doing something one way when really we need to experiment. This is the time to try new things during architecture school. That's a big mistake students make by not trying new things. Number 4 is learning only in their university education. A lot of students do all of their learning inside their university education, as in they'll only learn architecture and they'll only practice architecture if it's going towards their grade. But the thing is, you're learning what every other architecture student is learning as well. So you're not going to be creating any special opportunities for yourself by only learning what everyone else is learning. It's not a bad idea to take the time to practice something specialized to you in your own time. Practice some Photoshop or some rendering skills in your own time. Take up a course outside of university and practice stuff that no one else is learning. Number 5 is not setting their own deadlines. And this kind of ties back to those first points about planning and putting things off. But universities set a deadline for a reason, but it's also can be a bit overwhelming. To know that you've got a project coming up that's worth 60% of your grade, that can be extremely overwhelming. So what you need to do is break that up into smaller tasks and tell yourself and give yourself deadlines when you need these smaller tasks done by. Rather than saying you've just got this big project that's due on Sunday the 12th of June, you want to kind of break that up into, I want my plan done by the 8th, I want my layout done by the 9th, and I want my model done by the 11th, and then I can practice on the 12th. And you want to kind of just break it up into smaller tasks and make individual deadlines for each smaller task, because that's one of the biggest mistakes I've seen other students make, is that they're kind of just going with the flow and doing what they're told. But it's when you take charge of your own education, you create your own deadlines for yourself, and you're not just doing what everyone else is doing, that's when you can make some really good opportunities for yourself. Number 6 is messiness. And this is talking about messy files on their computer, a messy room, I can't really talk, a messy bathroom, or a messy mind, mental clutter. Messy actions lead to messy results. If you've got a Photoshop file open and it's got no layers, no groups, and it's all just clutter, your final result of that render is probably going to be cluttered and not organized, and the way you work and your workflow is going to determine how your final product is going to look. If your files are messy, if your desktop is messy, if your room is messy, your mind's going to be messy as well. You really need to tidy up the things around you, and if you just make it a habit to be tidy and keep things clean on your computer, in your room, wherever you are, then you're going to be less mentally cluttered, and it's really going to help you produce more, better, high quality work. And the final biggest mistake of architecture students, number 7, is having an undefined or unclear vision of the future. I don't know how many of you have played darts where you have to throw darts in the dartboard, but it's not exactly the easiest thing to do. You need to be precise, you need to be accurate, and you need to know what you're aiming at. Could you imagine playing darts, trying to hit a bullseye with your eyes covered, blindfolded? Well, that just makes it a whole different game. It's a totally new game. It gets so much more difficult because you don't actually know what you're aiming at. And it's the same with your goals of the future. If you want to be successful, if you want to be an architect, you need to know exactly what that means for you. You need to have a clear vision of the future, something to drive for, so that you're not just aiming blindly at the dartboard, trying to hit a bullseye. Because it's once you uncover your eyes and you take off the blindfold, it doesn't make it super easy just to hit the dartboard straight away, but you can then know what you're aiming at and you can adjust each shot so that it's a little bit closer every single time you take a shot. But if you're just trying to hit the dartboard randomly and you don't know what you're aiming at, it's going to be impossible to hit that target. So I highly recommend you go over your goals for the future and you look 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the path and you define for yourself what that actually looks like to you. So there you have it, guys. That was 7 of the deadliest mistakes architecture students make. I hope you've found this video helpful. I've tried to make it, a bit educational rather than just shitting on architecture students and trying to show everyone what we do wrong, because we do a lot of things right as well. But these are just some things to notice and to take charge of so that you can make architecture school a little bit less frightening for yourself. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a thumbs up, and I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to join the community of successful Archi student, because I love having you guys around. If you haven't introduced yourself or you want to just say something about this video, please leave a comment below. What do you think is the deadliest mistake architecture students make? I'd love to hear from you. Thank you guys once again for watching the video. If you want to check out one of my other ones, they are to the side here, and I'll catch you in the next episode of the Successful Archi Students podcast. Take care, guys.